The massive screen in Earth's Defense Force headquarters blinked with an unusual signal. Admiral James Reed stood from his chair, his weathered face reflecting the blue light of the display. Something wasn't right at the edge of their solar system. "Report," he ordered, his voice calm despite the tension in the room. "Sir, we're picking up energy signatures unlike anything we've seen before," replied Officer Peter White, his fingers moving quickly across the control panel. "They're just beyond Pluto's orbit." Reed had spent 30 years watching the stars, waiting for this moment. Humanity had always known they weren't alone, but now they had proof. The question was, would their visitors be friendly? Meanwhile, in the grand halls of the Galactic Empire's High Council, things were much less tense. The Empire had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, and this was just another routine expansion day for them. "These humans," spoke High Commander Rogers of the Empire's First Fleet, looking at the holographic display of Earth. "They've barely reached their own moon. Their technology is primitive at best." The other council members nodded in agreement. They had seen thousands of civilizations like this one. Some fought back, others submitted, but all eventually became part of the Empire. "Send the standard warning," ordered the council leader, barely looking up from his documents. No need to waste a full fleet on such a simple world. Back on Earth, the situation was changing quickly. The first sign was a small ship, no bigger than a passenger aircraft, approaching Earth's orbit. It moved in ways that defied known physics, making the scientists at the Defense Force headquarters scratch their heads in wonder. Admiral Reed called an emergency meeting with the World Council. Representatives from all nations gathered quickly, their faces showing both fear and determination on the video screens. "The ship is carrying only one life form," Reed reported, standing before the virtual assembly. "They're requesting permission to deliver a message." The council debated for less than an hour, a record time for any global decision. They agreed to allow the messenger to land at a remote military base in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The alien messenger looked almost human, except for the slight blue tinge to their skin and completely black eyes. They spoke perfect English, which was the first red flag. They hadn't needed any time to learn the language. "Your world has been noticed by the Galactic Empire," the messenger announced to the gathered world leaders. "You have 2 standard galactic days to submit to Imperial rule. This is a courtesy we extend to all primitive worlds. Submit, and your integration will be peaceful. Resist, and you will be conquered. This is not a negotiation." The messenger's voice was flat, almost bored, as if they had delivered this same speech 1,000 times before. President Helen Brown of the United World Council stood up, her face calm but her eyes fierce. "We appreciate you traveling all this way to deliver this message," she said. "However, Earth and humanity do not submit to threats. We are willing to discuss peaceful relations as equals, but we will not surrender our freedom." The messenger simply nodded, as if this response too was expected. "Then you have chosen war," they said. "The Empire has never lost a conquest in 10,000 years. You will regret this decision." As the messenger's ship left Earth's atmosphere, Admiral Reed was already putting the planet's defenses on high alert. But he smiled, knowing something the Empire didn't. "They're scanning our visible military bases," he said to his officers, "but they haven't found the ones we've hidden underground, underwater, and on the far side of the moon. They think we're primitive because that's what we wanted everyone to think." The next 48 hours were a flurry of activity as humanity prepared for war. They had spent centuries fighting among themselves, developing weapons and strategies, always with the possibility of alien contact in mind. As the Empire's small invasion fleet approached, carrying what they thought would be enough forces to subdue a primitive world, humanity waited. They were about to teach the Empire a lesson about underestimating their opponents. The real question wasn't whether Earth would fall. The question was, how many Empire ships would they destroy before the Empire realized they had made a terrible mistake? The Empire's invasion fleet appeared near Mars, their ships gleaming like silver stars against the red planet. There were 50 vessels in total, what the Empire considered a small force for conquering a primitive world. Captain Tom Miller watched from his mining vessel, hidden behind one of Mars' smaller moons, Phobos. His ship, like hundreds of others, wasn't really for mining. It was a warship disguised as mining equipment, part of humanity's hidden defense force. All ships maintained positions, came Admiral Reed's voice over the secure channel. Let them think they've surprised us. The Empire's fleet moved with perfect formation toward Earth. Their commander, General Vale, stood proud on his bridge. Send the final warning, he ordered. Though I doubt these primitives even have technology advanced enough to receive it. The warning message boomed across all radio frequencies. This is your final chance to surrender. Our sensors show your pitiful defenses. Submit now, and we will be merciful. That's when Admiral Reed gave the order they'd all been waiting for. Operation Trojan Horse begins now. Suddenly, the mining ships scattered around Mars' moons powered up their real weapons. Captain Miller's vessel shed its bulky exterior, revealing sleek missile launchers and energy weapons reverse-engineered from crashed alien ships they'd kept secret for decades. What's this? General Vale stood up from his command chair as new signals appeared on his screens. Impossible. Their technology level. Before he could finish, the first wave of human attacks hit. The Empire ships had powerful shields, but they weren't ready for missiles that changed direction mid-flight, following paths that made no sense, designed specifically to confuse alien tracking systems. They're using the asteroid belt. An Empire officer shouted in panic. Captain Miller grinned as his plan worked perfectly. Human ships were dragging asteroids into the battle using powerful electromagnets, creating a chaotic field of moving rocks that the Empire's neat formations couldn't handle. Their ships are too large to maneuver properly in this debris, Miller reported back to Earth. Just as we expected. They've never had to fight dirty. The Empire fleet tried to regroup, but centuries of easy victories had made them inflexible. Their ships crashed into each other trying to avoid the asteroids, while smaller human vessels darted between the rocks, firing from impossible angles. General Vale, an Empire officer, called out, his voice shaking. We've lost 15 ships already. These humans, they're not following any known combat patterns. Vale couldn't believe what he was seeing. The humans were using tactics that went against all military logic. They were flying their ships in ways that should have torn them apart, using the gravity of Mars and its moons to slingshot at speeds that seemed suicidal. Fall back. Vale finally ordered, his pride shattered. Fall back to regroup. But the humans hadn't finished their surprises. As the Empire fleet tried to retreat, they discovered their fancy faster-than-light drives wouldn't work. Welcome to our gravity net. Admiral Reed's voice came through on all channels. He wanted the Empire to hear. We've been studying gravity manipulation for years. You're not going anywhere until we're done. The battle lasted just 6 hours. When it was over, 35 Empire ships were destroyed, 10 were captured, and only 5 escaped to carry the news back to the Empire. The humans had lost 12 ships, a price they were more than willing to pay for this victory. Captain Miller stood on his bridge, watching the captured Empire vessels being towed toward Earth. You know what the funny thing is, he said to his crew. We didn't even use our best weapons, just the ones we wanted them to see. Back on Earth, Admiral Reed was already preparing for the Empire's next move. They'll be back, he told the World Council. And next time, they won't underestimate us. But that's exactly what we want. Let them come prepared for what they saw today. We've got plenty more surprises waiting. As the debris of Empire ships burned up in Mars' atmosphere, humanity celebrated its first victory against the galactic superpower. But everyone knew this was just the beginning. The real war was about to start, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy why you should never corner a species that had spent its entire history preparing for fights it hadn't even known were coming. The Grand Hall of the Empire's War Council had never been so quiet. 12 ancient generals sat around a massive black table, watching a replay of their fleet's destruction near Mars. Their faces, usually proud and confident, now showed fear. "Impossible," whispered High Commander Rogers, watching another Empire ship explode. "These humans, they fight like madmen." Meanwhile, deep inside Empire territory, Intelligence Officer Mark Wilson moved silently through the shadows of an Empire outpost. His mission was simple: gather information about the Empire's next attack. The Empire never expected a human to infiltrate their base. After all, how could a primitive species get this far? Wilson smiled as he placed tiny listening devices in the outpost's command center. His body had been modified with the latest stealth technology, making him almost invisible to Empire sensors. The Empire relied too much on their advanced technology, never thinking someone might use simple tricks to fool it. Back at the War Council, General Vale was trying to explain his defeat. "They used asteroids as weapons," he said, his voice shaking. "They turned mining ships into warships. They trapped us with some kind of gravity weapon. None of this was in their technology profile." "How did we miss this?" demanded Rogers. "Our scouts watched them for years." An Empire scientist stepped forward, his hands trembling as he held a datapad. "Sir, we've analyzed their history. These humans, they've been at war with themselves for their entire existence. They have more types of weapons than any species we've ever encountered. They don't follow any normal rules of combat." The council members watched in horror as the scientist showed them Earth's military history. Videos of ancient battles, world wars, guerrilla warfare, and modern combat filled the screens. "They have over 10,000 different martial arts," the scientist continued. "Most species develop 2 or 3 ways to fight. These humans created thousands just to fight each other, and they turn anything into a weapon. Even their sports are about combat strategy." In another part of the galaxy, Wilson was learning something interesting. He overheard Empire officers talking about their soldiers' reactions to fighting humans. "They just keep coming," one officer said. "We shot down their ships, but they ejected and kept fighting from the debris." "Who does that?" Wilson recorded everything. The Empire's soldiers were used to enemies that surrendered when their position became hopeless. Humans didn't do that. Humans got creative, got angry, and got even more dangerous when cornered. At the War Council, the debate was getting heated. "We should send our entire fleet," shouted one general. "Crush them completely." "No," said Rogers, suddenly understanding something. "That's exactly what they want. Think about it. They showed us some of their technology, but not all of it. They're drawing us in. This is a trap." The scientist agreed. Their history shows they excel at making their enemies overconfident. They prefer to be underestimated. Meanwhile, Admiral Reed was meeting with Earth's Defense Council. Wilson's intelligence was coming in, and it was better than they hoped. "The Empire is scared," Reed announced. "For the first time in thousands of years, they don't know what to do. They've never fought an enemy that thinks like us." President Brown nodded. "And their soldiers, already asking not to be sent to fight humans." Reed smiled. "Apparently, we're becoming quite the scary story in their ranks. They're calling us the Mad Ones, a species too stubborn to know when we're beaten." Back at the Empire's outpost, Wilson was finishing his mission when alarms suddenly blared. "Intruder detected," announced the computer system. Wilson didn't run. Instead, he walked straight into the open, facing the Empire's security forces. They raised their weapons, then stopped in confusion as he smiled. "Just wanted you to know," he said calmly, "that a primitive human got this far into your base. Imagine what the rest of us can do." Then he pressed a button on his belt and vanished, using transportation technology the Empire thought was centuries beyond human capability. The Empire War Council received this report an hour later. The realization hit them hard. They hadn't just started a war with another species. They had awakened something they didn't understand, something that had spent its entire existence preparing for this moment. and humanity was just getting started. Engineer Anna Thompson stood in front of the captured Empire ship, her eyes shining with excitement. Around her, teams of scientists and engineers worked day and night, taking apart alien technology piece by piece. They weren't just studying it, they were making it better. "Look at this," she said to Admiral Reed, holding up what looked like a normal bullet. "We've combined their shield technology with our projectile weapons, something they never thought to try because they abandoned primitive weapons centuries ago." Reed picked up the bullet, turning it over in his hands. "Will it work?" "It already does." Anna smiled. "Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons. These bullets create their own tiny shield that lets them pass right through the Empire's defenses. Simple beats complex every time." The next Empire attack came 3 days later. This time, they sent 200 ships, thinking overwhelming force would win. They weren't ready for what humanity had done with their stolen technology. From his command center on the moon, Admiral Reed watched the Empire fleet approach. Time to show them what humans do best: adapt and overcome. The first surprise came when the Empire ships fired their advanced energy weapons. Instead of hitting Earth's defenses, the beams were caught in special satellites that Anna's team had built. The satellites absorbed the energy and sent it back, turned into thousands of those shield-piercing bullets. "Impossible," shouted the Empire commander as the bullets tore through their best shields like paper. "They've only had our technology for a few weeks." But humanity's innovations didn't stop there. They had also figured out how to jam the Empire's fancy communication systems, forcing each ship to fight alone. The Empire's fleet, used to fighting as one unit, fell into chaos. "Their weakness is their structure," Captain Miller reported from his ship. "They can't fight without orders from above. But we're used to fighting even when communications go down." He was right. While Empire ships waited for commands that couldn't come, human ships attacked in small, independent groups. Each human captain knew the overall plan but was free to make their own decisions based on the situation. Anna's team had more surprises ready. They launched what looked like normal space debris toward the Empire fleet. The Empire ignored it, until the debris suddenly came alive with tiny engines, attaching to their ships like metal leeches. "What are these devices?" An Empire officer screamed as the machines started eating through their hull. "We call them adapters," Anna replied over an open channel, wanting them to hear. "They learn from whatever they touch. Right now, they're learning how to turn your own ships against you." The Empire had never seen anything like this. Humans weren't just using their technology. They were changing it, combining it with their own ideas in ways the Empire had never imagined. "Fall back," the Empire commander ordered. "They're too unpredictable." But retreat wasn't easy. The humans had learned from their first victory and set up gravity traps throughout the solar system. Empire ships found themselves being pulled toward Jupiter's moons, into asteroid fields, or into the paths of other retreating ships. In the end, the Empire lost half their fleet. The other half retreated in disorder, their perfect formations shattered, their confidence broken. After the battle, Anna walked through her lab, looking at all the new Empire technology they'd captured. "You know what their biggest mistake was?" she asked her team. "They stopped innovating. They thought they had the best of everything, so they stopped trying to improve." Admiral Reed nodded. "That's the difference between us and them. We never stop learning, never stop adapting. Every failure teaches us something new, makes us stronger." As Earth celebrated another victory, the Empire was learning a hard lesson. They had spent thousands of years becoming set in their ways, while humans had spent their history learning to change and adapt. The Empire had the most advanced technology in the galaxy, but humans had something more valuable: the ability to look at something and ask, "How can we make this better?" The war was far from over, but with each battle, humanity proved why they were the most dangerous species the Empire had ever faced. They weren't just fighting with technology. They were changing the very rules of warfare. The Empire's largest battle station orbited a distant star. Its halls unusually quiet. In the main strategy room, High Commander Rogers stared at reports from the Earth front. His hands shook as he read them. "Sir," a young officer entered the room. "The Third Fleet is refusing orders. They don't want to fight the humans." Rogers slammed his fist on the table. "Cowards. We've ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. How can they fear these demons?" The officer whispered. "That's what the soldiers call them now." Near Jupiter's rings, Admiral Reed was about to show why Empire soldiers were right to be afraid. His fleet of 50 ships faced 300 Empire vessels, the largest force they'd sent yet. But Reed had a plan that went against all military logic. "All ships, power down," he ordered. "Everything except life support." Captain Miller's voice crackled over the radio. "Sir, you want us to play dead." "Exactly," Reed smiled. "Let's show them another human trick, playing possum." The Empire fleet approached the seemingly dead human ships. Their scanners showed no power, no weapons, nothing but basic life support. General Vale, leading this attack, felt uneasy. The humans had never been this easy to find. "Sir," his second-in-command reported, "the human ships appear defeated. Should we destroy them?" Vale remembered the previous battles. "No, this is too simple. Humans are never simple. Scan everything." But they weren't scanning inside Jupiter's rings, where thousands of small robots, Anna Thompson's latest creation, were quietly moving chunks of ice and rock. The Empire fleet had positioned themselves exactly where Reed wanted them. "Now," Reed ordered. Suddenly, the rings of Jupiter seemed to explode. The robots had arranged the ice and rocks into massive projectiles, using the gas giant's gravity to launch them at incredible speeds. At the same time, the dead human ships came alive, their weapons powered by energy stored in special batteries designed to be invisible to Empire scans. "It's a trap," Vale screamed. "Evasive action." But there was nowhere to go. The Empire ships were caught between the ring projectiles and the human fleet. Their formation, once again, worked against them. Ships crashed into each other trying to escape. In the chaos, Reed revealed his master stroke. Small fighters launched from his ships, but they weren't normal fighters. Each one was piloted by Earth's best video game players. "The Empire thinks war should be organized and proper," Reed had told these pilots. "Show them how wrong they are." The gamers flew like nothing the Empire had ever seen. They pulled maneuvers that should have been impossible, using techniques learned from years of video games. The Empire's targeting computers couldn't predict their movements because they weren't following any rational pattern. What kind of training produces pilots like this? Vale watched in horror as another ship exploded. Back at the Empire's battle station, Rogers received the news of another defeat, but worse were the reports from his soldiers. Stories spread through the Empire's ranks about humans, how they fought harder when cornered, how they smiled in the face of death, how they turned defeat into victory. "Sir," the young officer returned, "we're getting requests for transfers from all fronts. Nobody wants to fight the humans. They say humans don't fear death like normal species." Rogers looked at footage from the Jupiter battle. He saw human ships flying into certain death to protect their companions. He saw them using tactics that risked everything on crazy gambles. Most importantly, he saw them winning. They're not fearless, Rogers finally understood. There's something worse. They know fear, but they've learned to use it, to fight through it. 10,000 years of easy victories made us soft, but humans, every battle makes them stronger. The battle at Jupiter ended with another human victory. Of the 300 Empire ships, only 50 escaped. Vale himself was captured, and his message to the Empire command was simple: "We cannot beat them. Not like this." They don't just fight. They change the meaning of war itself. As Earth celebrated, Admiral Reed prepared for the next battle. "The Empire still doesn't understand," he told his officers. "They think this is about ships and weapons, But humanity's greatest weapon has always been our spirit. We never learned to accept defeat because we never stopped finding ways to turn it into victory. The Empire was about to learn that the most dangerous enemy isn't the one with the biggest weapons. It's the one who never stops finding new ways to fight. The first human fleet to enter Empire space wasn't there to fight. Instead, it carried a message that terrified the Empire more than any weapon: mercy. Admiral Reed stood on his flagship's bridge as they approached an Empire colony world. His fleet of 200 ships, many of them captured and improved Empire vessels, moved in perfect formation. But their weapons weren't active. Broadcasting on all frequencies, his communications officer announced, in their language, just as they did to us. Reed's message was simple: we are humans. You tried to conquer us. We fought back. Now we're here not for revenge, but to talk. Your empire has a choice: keep fighting and lose everything, or talk peace and keep your worlds. You have 2 hours to decide. On the Empire's capital world, the High Council was in chaos. Representatives from 50 different colony worlds were screaming at them through communication screens. The humans are unstoppable. One governor shouted, "Give them what they want." We saw the reports. Another added, "They took down our best fleets, but when planets surrendered, they offered protection instead of punishment." High Commander Rogers watched the panic spread. The Empire had always ruled through fear, but now their worlds feared humans more than they feared the Empire. Captain Miller led a small group of ships to another Empire world. As they entered orbit, they found something unexpected: welcome messages. "Sir," his sensor officer reported, "they're lowering their shields, and they're asking for our help." Miller read the message from the planet's governor. The Empire had stripped their world of defenses to fight Earth. Now pirates were raiding them, and the Empire was too busy to help. "Tell them we accept," Miller replied. "Show them how humans treat friends." When his ships drove off the pirates, the planet's people celebrated in the streets. Word spread quickly. Humans were better protectors than the Empire had ever been. Back at the Empire's capital, Rogers faced a hard truth. In just 6 months, humans had done what no species had managed in 10,000 years. They hadn't just beaten Empire fleets. They had shown the galaxy a better way. "Sir," his aide reported, "another 10 worlds have requested human protection. And our own soldiers, they're starting to question everything. Some are saying we should learn from the humans instead of fighting them." On Earth, President Brown met with the World Council. The screens showed maps of Empire space, with more and more worlds turning green, showing who had accepted human protection. "We never wanted their empire," she told the council. "We just wanted to be left alone. But now that we're out here, we have a chance to change things for the better." Anna Thompson's latest invention helped speed things along. She had created translation devices that let humans talk directly with people on Empire worlds. Once they could talk, fear turned to curiosity, and curiosity turned to friendship. The Empire kept worlds divided, she explained to Reed. They never let different species really talk to each other. Now they're learning they have more in common than they thought. The Empire's final attempt to maintain control failed spectacularly. They tried to cut off communication between worlds, but humans had already taught their new allies how to build simple radio systems that the Empire couldn't block. That's the problem with relying too much on advanced technology, Reed said as he watched another Empire world join their alliance. Sometimes the old, simple ways work better. High Commander Rogers finally called for an emergency meeting with President Brown. When his ship arrived at the meeting point, he found Earth's fleet waiting, not in attack formation, but in an honor guard. "I don't understand," he told Brown during their first face-to-face meeting. "You could destroy us. Why offer peace?" Brown's answer surprised him. "Because that's what makes us human. We fight harder than anyone when we have to, but we'd rather make friends than enemies. The question is, which would you rather be?" As Rogers looked out at the fleet that had humbled his empire, He realized humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their ability to fight. It was their ability to turn enemies into allies. The Empire had ruled through fear for 10,000 years. But humans had shown the galaxy a different path in just 6 months. The real revolution wasn't happening in space battles anymore. It was happening on every world that learned humans would protect them, help them, and treat them as equals. The Empire wasn't just losing a war. It was losing its reason to exist. 1 year after the first Empire ship entered Earth's solar system, the galaxy was a very different place. In the grand meeting hall of what was once the Empire's capital world, representatives from 1,000 planets gathered to sign the new Galactic Charter. Admiral Reed stood beside President Brown, watching alien species from across the galaxy taking their seats. Some flew, others crawled, and many walked on various numbers of legs. But they all had one thing in common: respect for humanity. Who would have thought? Reed whispered to Brown, that winning a war would lead to this. The Empire's warning about humans had spread everywhere, but not in the way they'd planned. Instead of fear, it brought curiosity. The story of how a primitive world had defeated the mighty Empire gave hope to others. High Commander Rogers, now representing the reformed Empire worlds, stepped up to the speaker's platform. His voice carried across the hall. A year ago, we thought humans were primitive because they hadn't spread across the stars. We were wrong. They stayed on their world, not because they couldn't leave, but because they were wise enough to solve their problems at home first. Anna Thompson sat with a group of alien scientists. They had been amazed by how humans combine technologies in new ways. Your species thinks differently, one told her. You don't just use tools, you reimagine them. Captain Miller, standing with his crew, remembered the battles they'd fought. But now he watched former Empire soldiers training with human pilots, learning from each other. Funny, he said to his alien second-in-command, a few months ago, we were trying to shoot each other down. That's what impresses us most about humans, the alien replied. You fight harder than anyone when you must, but you forgive just as easily when the fighting stops. President Brown took the platform next. The hall fell silent. We never wanted to rule the galaxy, she began. We still don't. What we want is to learn, to trade, to grow together. The Empire taught fear. We offer friendship. She held up the new Galactic Charter for all to see. This document guarantees freedom for all worlds. No more empires, no more conquests. Every species has the right to develop in their own way, at their own pace. And if anyone threatens that freedom, she smiled. Well, they've seen what happens when you pick a fight with humans. The hall erupted in cheers and various alien sounds of approval. The new Galactic Alliance was born. After the ceremony, Rogers approached Reed with a question that had bothered him for months. Your ships could reach our capital world now, he said. You could take control of everything. Why don't you? Reed's answer was simple. Because then we'd be exactly what you were, rulers by force. Humanity learned long ago that real strength isn't about controlling others. It's about helping them stand on their own. As the celebrations continued, ships from Earth were already spreading across the galaxy. But they didn't carry weapons. They carried teachers, traders, and explorers. Humans shared their unique way of thinking with other species, while learning new ideas from them. Anna's team started a galaxy-wide network for sharing technology. But don't just copy it, she told her alien students. Improve it. That's the human way. The Empire's last official act was to send a new warning to the unexplored regions of space. But this warning was different. Beware of humans, not because they are fierce warriors, though they are. Not because they have powerful weapons, though they do. Beware because they will show you a better way. And once you see it, you'll never want to go back to the old ways again. As night fell on the capital world, President Brown looked out at the stars. A year ago, humanity had faced its greatest challenge. They had not only survived, they had changed the galaxy forever. Ready to go home? Reed asked her. Home, she smiled. Admiral, look around. The whole galaxy is our home now, and we have a lot of new friends to protect. The Empire had tried to conquer humanity. Instead, humanity had taught the galaxy how to be free. Not with weapons or threats, but with something much more powerful, the human spirit of endless innovation, unbreakable determination, and most importantly, the wisdom to choose peace when peace was possible. The first war with humans was over, but humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning.